John Harbaugh has really done a magnificent job in his 4 seasons with Baltimore, getting them to the playoffs. In each season, they have clinched the playoff spot by virtue of what happened around the conference today. Nick Novak will kick off. San Diego won the toss and elected to defer, so they didn't want their offense going against that Baltimore defense at the outset. And back is Tom Zbikowski to run it back for the Ravens. So this crowd is fired up now because of what happened earlier today in the AFC West. And here we go from San Diego. And Zbikowski will down it in the end zone. And let's take a look at the Ravens offense.
Joe Flacco, University of Delaware.
Ray Rice, Rutgers University.
Vontae Lee, East Carolina.
Anquan Bolden, Florida State University.
Torrey Smith, Maryland.
Ed Dixon, Oregon Ducks.
Brian McKinney, the U.
Ben Grubbs, Auburn University.
Matt Burke, Harvard.
Marshall Yanda, Iowa.
Michael Ward, University of Ole Miss.
That line doing a very good job protecting Joe Flacco. So the Ravens, having won their last 4, start from the 20-yard line. Ray Rice, the running back, leads the league in yards from scrimmage. Turns the corner here, picks up a first down on the opening play and takes it out to the 41-yard line before he's tripped up by Eric Weddle. A 21-yard gain.
Well, so many times when you see big runs, there are people on the ground right here. Antonio Garay, the nose tackle, is going to get cut on the backside by Marshall Yanda. And here we go. The Chargers with some banged up inside linebackers, and you have to believe that the Ravens are going to come out tonight and force the Chargers to prove that they can stop the run.
Chargers basically thinking, let's let Flacco beat us and not Ray Rice. But Rice already with a big gain on first down. Now he runs into his own guys here and gets taken down 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Sean Phillips will get credit for the tackle. Flacco, picked in the first round out of Delaware, originally enrolled at the University of Pittsburgh, where Tyler Palko won the job, so Joe transferred. 4th year in the league. Take a look at his numbers here. The numbers are okay, but all things considered, when you talk to anybody around the Ravens, they will tell you that Flacco's having his best season.
Well, and he was the guy that orchestrated that 92-yard drive against the Pittsburgh Steelers that has put these Ravens in position to be the #1 seed.
And the Ravens knocked off the Steelers twice this season. 2nd and 12. Flacco in the pocket, dumps it off behind the intended receiver, Bolden. It'll be 3rd and long, and let's take a look at the San Diego defense.
Von Martin, University of Western Ontario.
Antonio Garay, Broadway High School.
Corey Legit, Illinois.
Sean Phillips, Purdue.
Donald Butler, Washington.
Takeo Spikes, Auburn.
Travis DeBoer, Hawaii.
Quinn Jammer, Texas.
Steve Gregory, Syracuse.
Eric Weddle, Utah.
Antoine Kaysen, University of Arizona.
Kaysen, a gambler, good player, but he can get burned. That was the #1 defense in the league last year. Helped Ron Rivera get the head coaching job at Carolina. Greg Minuski takes over this season. 3rd and 12 from the 40. And Flacco protected well and hits Bolden, who takes the ball inside the 30 to the 26-yard line. Great presence in the pocket. Flacco hanging right in there and then shoots one over the middle for a gain of 34.
Just come in with that bunch formation, but really the protection key. Joe Flacco able to step up in the pocket, and this has really been one of the major issues in my estimation. We're so used to so many of the great pass rushers coming through San Diego and guys with ability to get pressure, but right now this Chargers secondary has been under so much pressure simply because they can't get that same kind of pass rush.
From the 27 now, blitz coming, it's picked up, and the pass is incomplete. A little underthrown. Kaysen is there, and Lee Evans, who's been on the shelf injured a good part of the season, former Buffalo Bill, the intended receiver.
Well, Kaysen a little bit late getting his head around. Lee Evans, of course, the guy they're hoping is going to help break it out, but if Kaysen gets his head around maybe a fraction early there, might have come up with a big interception.
So it's 2nd down and 10. Lewis back in uniform. They won the 4 games that he missed. Norv Turner, the head coach, and the play caller on offense. 2nd down and 10 from the 27-yard line. After the pump fake, the pass is knocked away at the last minute by Eric Weddle. who's tied for the league lead in interceptions with 7. That was intended for Evans.
Well, Eric Weddle got paid big this offseason, and this time it pays off right here. A last-second dive. He is tied for the lead in interceptions, and almost just enough on that one to save a big touchdown.
Weddle from Southern California has about 100 friends and relatives at every game. Fortunately, they have some money because most of them have their own season tickets. 3rd down and 10 with the ball at the 27-yard line. Charger defense has had a lot of trouble on 3rd down this season. Flacco dumps it off to Rice, and Rice trying to get that 1st down will come up a little bit short, and there is Weddle again right in the middle of the action to stop at the 19-yard line and bring on the field goal team.
Well, if you watch the Ravens very much at all, you know that when all else fails, it is going to be Ray Rice. And despite the fact that was a very simple little dump off, boy, he almost picked up the 1st down.
Billy Cundiff had a sore left calf, and there was some question as to whether he'd be able to kick tonight, but here he is. Sam Cook to hold it. This will be a 36-yard attempt on the game's opening drive. And Cundiff's kick is no good. Sliding off to the right. And the San Diego Chargers will take over early, 1st quarter, no score. This past weekend, Baltimore Ravens out in the community distributing food and gifts for the holiday season. Ray Lewis back in the lineup, missing a month after the missed Cundiff field goal from the 26-yard line. Phillip Rivers and the Charger offense goes to work. Play action. And Rivers is able to dump it off, and he dumps it off to Ryan Matthews out to the 40-yard line. 2nd year at the Fresno State. McLean came through in the middle and decked Rivers. Gain of 13 yards. Phillip on the season, and that highlighted figure right there is the problem. 17 interceptions. A lot of them came in that 6-game losing streak. And Phillip saying to us the other day, he said, you know what? Those 6 games felt like one long, ugly game.
It was indeed, and of course a lot of things happened. Remember the fumble against Kansas City, a lot of strange ways to lose football games, but they are what they are, and they acknowledge it. No excuses.
2 of them coming in overtime. Only 1 double-digit loss. That's to Chicago. Rivers throws to the outside, and falling down is Jackson as we take a look at the San Diego starters.
Phillip Rivers, NC State.
Ryan Matthews, Fresno State.
Vincent Jackson, Northern Colorado.
Malcolm Floyd, Wyoming.
Antonio Gates, Detroit Central High School.
Randy McMichael, Georgia.
Jared Gaither, Maryland. Go Terps.
Tyrone Green, Auburn.
Nick Hardwick, Purdue.
Louis Vasquez, Texas Tech.
Jeremy Clary, Kansas State University.
That offensive line banged up all season long, mixing and matching, fairly healthy though tonight. And going through the middle is Matthews. They've had 11 different starters, a little pushy shovey here. 11 different starters on that offensive line this year, as Norv Turner said the other day. We have our backups playing.
And they're going to get pressure right off the edge there, Al. I tell you, one thing that the Baltimore Ravens are going to try and do tonight is stop San Diego's running game with just 7 guys. They want to be very protective on the back end, not allow these great receivers to make those big plays down the field, so they're hoping they can stop the run with just 7 up front.
3rd down matchup. The Ravens great at getting off the field, best in the league, and the Chargers are 3rd best at converting. And on 3rd and 8, it is the Chargers who win the first 3rd down battle of the night, as Randy McMichael makes the catch. They'll spot the ball at the 50, 1st down San Diego.
Nice job by Phillip Rivers that time. Haloti Ngata is going to come right at him right here. It's running right for his nose, and he stood in there and made a very difficult delivery, pick up a big 1st down. Terrell Suggs on the outside getting a lot of attention, and Randy McMichael able to get a piece of him and still pick up the 1st down.
They put a fullback in. That's Hester. Matthews is the tailback. And they toss it to Vincent Jackson. And Jackson was looking to throw and packs it in again. And Jackson picks up 8 yards before he's taken down along the Ravens sideline by Jimmy Smith.
Well, Norv Turner's not going to leave anything in the bag here tonight. They go motion across the way to help protect Dontrell Suggs and run away from him. That is the hardest thing in the world to do right there, Al. Is you're a wide receiver, to not throw that ball is difficult. Tried to get it to Floyd down the field, but guess who was right there? Ed Reed. They're working against Terrell Suggs, trying to stay away from him, and boy, has he been hot lately.
That would have been Jackson's first career pass. Good idea when you see Reed out there, and on 2nd and 1, busting his way through the middle and then losing the ball, but the Chargers wind up recovering it, is Ryan Matthews, and that has been the issue with him. The Ravens are indicating they have it, and Gaither, the former Raven, is saying, I'm wearing a different uniform. No, I have it. And that's the 5th fumble of the year from Matthews, and that was the issue with him last year in his rookie season.
There's no question about it. Matthews has had 3 straight 100-yard rushing days. He is a guy that they have huge expectations for, but no running back in the league fumbles a higher percentage of his balls than does Ryan Matthews. You can see why. The ball gets away from his body, and it's easy to knock it out.
Kerry Williams knocked it out, forced it, and then Gaither, who's a good story playing left tackle, recovers. Now Rivers throwing, and underneath it is caught, and this is Jackson making the catch, tackled by the rookie Jimmy Smith. And let's take a look at that Raven defense.
Paul Tingata, Oregon. Terrence Cody, Alabama.
Corey Redding, University of Texas.
Jarrett Johnson, Alabama.
Ray Lewis, University of Miami.
Jamel McClain, Syracuse University.
Cesar, Ball So Hard University.
Jimmy Smith, Colton High School.
Bernard Pollard, the Boilermakers.
Ed Reed, the U.
Kerry Williams, Washburn.
Didn't you go to Ball So Hard University?
Yeah, right. It's in Tempe, Arizona, in case you're wondering. Ravens not allowing an opponent to score on the first drive in 21 straight games. So you go back last year to October, and this is caught on the outside, and then McMichael would have been taken down for about a 5-yard loss and proceeds to get back to the line of scrimmage.
I really like what San Diego's doing so far. They're anticipating the rush and the pressure that, of course, Baltimore applies on every single game. And so all they're doing is they're acting like they're chipping these outside pass rushers and then sort of turning around and taking screen passes or flare passes, just a way to slow these guys down a bit.
2nd down and 10. A little more than halfway through the quarter. They flank Matthews out to the right, so the empty backfield. Rivers sends everybody into the pattern and throws it underneath. It's caught there by Floyd, and Malcolm Floyd will set up a 1st down and goal. And we talked about the fact with Webb missing, and Michelle mentioned at the top that Norv Turner said the one guy they would go to work on is Smith, and that's what they're doing.
Yeah, and they're using motion. That time they moved the back out of the backfield. And by doing that, they saw Ray Lewis move with him, so they knew it was man coverage, came with the pick route underneath it, which is the perfect play for man coverage. That's Norv Turner at his best. By motion, by shifting, he knows exactly what the defense is doing.
Rivers 5 of 6 on this opening drive. From the 8. Play action. Rivers sliding, buys time, caught, and Matthews will be out of bounds at about the 2-yard line, 2.5. 2nd and goal.
Well, for Phillip Rivers, he has had plenty of issues in the red zone this year, throwing interceptions and not making plays that he typically does. You think back to this offense in the past, and of course Darren Sproles was such a big part of it. Antonio Gates catches so many touchdowns. Gates was earlier in the year hurt so much of the time. So now that he's starting to get Matthews involved, he's starting to understand what he's doing, they're getting better down here.
2nd goal from the 2. And Rivers is going to take a timeout. 5.5 to go. Opening frame. No score in San Diego. In some measure, that speaks to the problems that Rivers has had and the Chargers have had with mistakes. 3 red zone interceptions this year. He had 4 in his first 7 seasons combined. After the timeout, 2nd down and goal. And they give the ball to Tolbert. And Tolbert is their short yardage guy, and he takes the ball just inside the 2-yard line.
Well, I tell you, Ray Lewis stuffed that one. Tyrone Green coming around the corner right here is Ray Lewis. Comes right up here and just takes on the offensive lineman and buries him. Excuse me, that was Jameel McClain, who's been filling in for Ray Rice, who made that play.
Redding comes out, 3rd down and goal now. Tolbert flanking Rivers in the backfield. And they give it to him on an inside handoff. Touchdown. He goes in behind the left guard, Tyrone Green, and Mike Tolbert takes it into the end zone to give San Diego the lead.
End up coming down with a double team and pulling around. This time they do a job on Ray Lewis inside and able to get Tolbert through. Tell you, that is huge. The missed field goal for the Baltimore Ravens. Take it the length of the field the other way. And the San Diego Chargers continue to roll in December.
Block Lewis out of the play. Nick Novak is their place kicker. Tolbert's also a great special teams kicker. A lot of times this year he scored a touchdown and he makes a tackle on the kickoff. We'll watch when we come back. 7-0. And this is Zbikowski who will run back the kickoff. And he gets taken down up at the 25-yard line by Jacob Hester. Then the ball comes out. You got a little battle going on here. You got a helmet flying off from the rookie Andrew Gatchkar. And they'll get things in order here. Carl Sheffers is the referee, and it's the first action he's had to take care of tonight. Ray Rice, the offense runs through him in Baltimore, leading the league in yards from scrimmage coming into the weekend. He's gained more than a third of the Ravens' yards from scrimmage since 2009, second highest to Chris Johnson of Tennessee. And each of the last 25 games, he's been their leading rusher, so that's more than a season and a half. And Rice on the first series carried twice for 20 yards. He's also their leading receiver. Adds 7 more here, tackled by the safety Steve Gregory. And it will be 2nd down and 3 for the Ravens.
And it was really that Week 9 loss to Seattle that seemed to change things for this Ravens offense. And that one, Ray Rice had 5 carries for 27 yards, and there was an outcry that he wasn't getting the ball enough. And now when you talk to these guys, they say, believe me, Ray Rice is going to touch it at least 25 times in every game. It may be a reception, it may be a run, but this guy is our offense.
And Avante Leach in as the fullback, and then Rice will cut it back over left guard and comes close to picking up the first down. Donald Butler makes the tackle, and they do signal first down Baltimore.
Well, in these zone schemes, so many times it comes down to where are these interior linemen, and then when does Ray Rice cut it back? It's taken him a long time. Actually, Avante Leach came over as the fullback for this team, and he's been teaching Ray Rice a lot about those sort of zone runs. And if anything, Rice was cutting him back too earlier in the season. Now he's pressing a little more, and it's working better.
Now single back on first down. Rice, it's nothing. This is Leach. Vaughn Martin's done a nice job along that defensive front, number 92, to make the stop. Chargers lost Luis Castillo on opening day, so they've had to mix and match along that defensive front as well as the offensive line.
Yeah, Vaughn Martin right in here, and this young man has come off the bench. He was a reserve, and he's played more snaps than any other defensive lineman for the Chargers this year. A very pleasant surprise for them.
2nd and 10. Greg Minuski is the defensive coordinator. Was at San Francisco. Brought Takeo Spikes, the linebacker, with him as well. And Travis LeBoy. 2nd down and 10. And it's a quick drop and a quick pass, and that's caught by Dennis Pitta. They love to go to the tight ends, the Ravens do. Ed Dixon and Pitt are both a big part of that passing offense.
Well, and what you do is you take these big receiving tight ends, we're seeing it around the league right now, flank them out wide. It forced Steve Gregory, the safety, to come over and essentially play like a corner in a lot of space. And when you get that big body, it is almost impossible to try and break up a throw like that. It is, without question, been the year of the tight end in the NFL.
In fact, they have 3 of them in the game right now, including Chris Wilson as the man in motion to provide the leverage on the Rice run. And Rice puts his head down. Great vision. Takes the ball across the 50-yard line to the 49, where he's tackled by Takeo Spikes.
Yeah, Marshall Yanda is a guy that is just a nasty guard on the backside. We have seen it since day one. Some of these cutbacks over here, watch what they do here. And a lineman next to him, and I mean, those are just blocks that offensive linemen love and defensive linemen hate, but that is a legal block because it's an adjacent lineman.
2nd down and 4. And the handoff this time is the 1st down to Ricky Williams, who comes into the game. Ricky, 11th year, Heisman Trophy winner. Left football for a while. He's going to become a massage therapist. And back he comes. There he is. And he's closing in on 10,000 yards, 3rd most among active players.
Yeah, and Ricky Williams, what is he, 34 years old now, and still tearing it up. And, you know, he looks good running the football. He runs with power, he runs with authority, and he's been a nice change-up for Ray Rice.
And back home here with the Patrick Henry High School here in San Diego from the 41-yard line, rolling, and then Flacco under pressure, and he has to throw it away. He was being chased. Nobody was open. Chased by Phillips, and it'll be 2nd down and 10.
Yeah, and it's been such a luxury to have Sean Phillips back in the lineup. He is the one real difference maker on this Chargers team. Missed a lot of time so far this season with injuries, and we saw him on a very similar play in the game last week, not being fooled by a bootleg, and Steve Gregory was the beneficiary of it. Ended up with an interception return for a touchdown.
Lewis on the Ravens sideline, his team down by a touchdown. Final minute, opening quarter. 2nd down and 10. Flacco, and that's incomplete. Pass wobbling out of his hand. Intended for Torrey Smith, the rookie who's yet to catch a ball tonight. It'll be 3rd down and 10.
Wow, that was one weird looking throw. I'm not sure exactly what happened. If Flacco maybe thought he was in danger and saw it late and tried to re-grip it, but that baby sailed about 10 yards. Take a look at this thing. Kind of drops down, and that thing, it just like slipped out of his hand.
3rd and 10. It's a 4-man rush. Flacco escaping, trying to pick up the 1st down, and will, and then takes a shot staying inbounds from Quentin Jammer. So Flacco avoids the sack, takes off to his right, converts on 3rd down on what figures to be the final play of the opening quarter.
Joe Flacco is as mobile as any quarterback playing in the game right now. On some plays like that, he has simply been tremendous making big plays for the Ravens.
Takes it to the 29. That's where the 2nd quarter begins. End of 1. The San Diego Chargers 7. The Baltimore Ravens nothing. Sunday Night Football resumes after these messages. Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, and Michelle Tafoya here in San Diego. 1st and 10 for the Ravens, who trail 7-0 from the 29-yard line as we start the 2nd quarter. And through the middle, big hole. Rice exploits it. Gains 12. Ray Rice, 1st down of the 17, tackled by Jammer.
I'll tell you, this Vontae Leach just does not get enough credit for what he does. Watch him take out the outside linebacker here and just create a massive hole. You talk to Cam Cameron, he says this guy belongs in the Hall of Fame. I'm like, Hall of Fame? He said absolutely. He has been around some good fullbacks in the past, but this is a guy that has really made a difference for the Ravens.
Cam Cameron, the offensive coordinator of Baltimore, was the offensive coordinator here in the middle of the decade before he went to Miami for 1 year as the head coach, and then on to Baltimore. Rice picks up a yard, maybe 2. It'll be 2nd down and 8, and there is Cam. He was here under Marty Schottenheimer. He gets the Miami job. Wade Phillips was running the defense. He gets the Dallas job, and then Marty gets fired after a 14-2 season. And of course the loss to the New England Patriots, which still is in the throat of every Charger fan.
There's no question. I think Norv Turner is going to have to finish this season strong. A lot of speculation about his job as well. But the way they're playing right now, who knows?
2nd down and 8. Trying to get to 500 tonight at 7-7. Flacco got time again, and that pass is too high. Intended for Ed Dixon, and you had Sean Phillips, the linebacker, on the coverage. 3rd and 8 upcoming.
Well, they're not really known as blockers, these tight ends, but Dennis Pitta, number 88, watch him staying on Antoine Barnes on the outside, and that's what allowed Joe Flacco to take that shot down the field.
3rd down and 8. Four-man rush over the middle, and it is caught by Ed Dixon for a touchdown. 3rd and 8, a big 3rd down conversion. Again, the Chargers have so much trouble getting off the field on 3rd down. Get burned again here. 13 plays, 75 yards, and an extra point away from a tie game.
Yeah, working against Takeo Spikes, who is really not practiced at all this week because of a bad back. Steve Gregory was right there in position, but as we've seen throughout the course of the season, these big tight ends, you throw it high, let them go up and make a play, and the safeties just can't get there.
Billy Cundiff, who missed that 36-yard field goal, so keep an eye on him with a sore left calf. Nothing is automatic tonight. The extra point is good. And a minute and a half into the 2nd quarter. We're knotted in San Diego. Ravens 7, Chargers 7 on Sunday Night Football. Hotel del Coronado, about 10 miles from the ballpark here. Garay getting some oxygen on the sideline. Ed Reed and his defense ready to come back out. Richard Goodman to return the kick. Billy Cundiff is able to send that one to the back of the end zone. And Phillip Rivers and the Chargers will begin their 2nd possession of the night at the 20-yard line. Chargers, another bizarre season. Normally they start very slowly, but this year they start fast. They win 4 out of 5. Then the roof caves in, lose the next 6. There's a bye week in there as well. They went almost 2 calendar months without a win. Then they win the last 2 games, albeit it's Jacksonville and Buffalo. They knocked off by a combined 75-24. Here they are right back in the race with losses today by the Broncos and the Raiders.
We have seen teams get hot late and have those runs carry right through into the playoffs. A lot of 6 seeds have won the Super Bowl in the last few years.
Chargers, 2nd drive of the night, starts with a run by Matthews. Picks up 2.
Let's go back and look at some of the things Norv Turner is doing. Using motion to his advantage by taking Matthews and flanking him out. Ray Lewis had to go with him. At that point, Phillip Rivers now knows he has man coverage. So he's going to go with the pick route. Use Gates on one side, force Jimmy Smith to run over the top, hit it in there to Malcolm Floyd. That's what Norv Turner does about as well as anybody in football. He can help his quarterback figure out exactly what they're playing and what they're doing on the other side.
2nd down and 7. And Rivers throws, and that is caught, and that's Antonio Gates, who picks up a 1st down. So, Chris, perhaps you heard Kansas City beat Green Bay today.
Yeah.
And how about the division race, though, in the AFC West? where every team is still alive, including Kansas City.
Yeah, and you have to give Romeo Crennel a lot of credit. Boy, they didn't blink at all in that game. We saw their defense play so well earlier in the season against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So who knows? But I tell you, when you watch Phillip Rivers start to play and throw the ball the way he is right now, it's hard not to like what the San Diego Chargers are doing too.
1st and 10. And this is Ryan Matthews.
I really think you could almost take Ryan Matthews' rushing yards at the end of this game, and I can tell you whether San Diego is going to win or not. So much of this offense is built around play action. And unfortunately, in order to have success, you have to beat guys like Haloti Ngata inside. Now, he can just physically take your guy and move him backwards, and all of a sudden it's a lot tougher to try and run the football.
2nd down and 9 from the 35. And Rivers is going to get buried back at the 25-yard line. And there's a penalty. Carl Cheffers has not had to make any calls tonight. Here's Corey Redding. This will be the first penalty of the game.
Personal foul, head slap, number 55, defense, 15-yard penalty, automatic, 1st down.
Big penalty on Terrell Suggs, having the kind of year where he could be the defensive player of the year in the NFL.
Yeah, but this one hurts. You go from sack to 15 yards the other way, and boy, Randy McMichael had no chance, and Ryan Matthews trying to clean him up. You saw that. But inside, it was a pretty dominant rush that time by Jameel McClain, who distracted Luis Vasquez just enough to set up the sack.
Big break for the Chargers. The ball is at the midfield stripe. Matthews behind McMichael, but can't get out of his own way as Corey Redding is there to make the tackle. It'll be 2nd down and 9.
Randy McMichael right now has a big assignment, and as we speak, he's getting beat up on the outside by Suggs. He's turning his head. He's looking a little nervous. He has got to plow his way in there. He's not a huge guy. Suggs is a much more physical guy, but you can see right now McMichael is flinching just a bit on those hits, and he is a key blocker tonight in this game.
Both teams totally balanced run pass to this point. On 2nd and 9. Pressure coming. Rivers gets it away, and wide open over the middle is Antonio Gates, who makes the catch. And Gates has now caught 2, and he's 2 away from tying Charlie Joyner as the all-time San Diego Charger reception leader. That's a 20-yard gain.
And again, Norv Turner using motion. This time they moved to a zone, gave Rivers a good look, and Antonio Gates, who is getting healthier. This guy has had a bad foot the entire year, has not been able to practice much, practiced the entire week, and right now they're thinking that he could be a major factor in this one.
And there's Charlie Joyner, assistant coach with the Chargers, who leads Gates now by 2 all time. Matthews can't get out of the backfield, and that's Jarrett Johnson to a man. The Ravens have superstars. They've got Ray Lewis and Haloti Ngata, and they've got Ed Reed, but they will tell you this guy is right there with everybody on this defense. Jarrett Johnson just doesn't get the pub.
And what he does better than anybody is stuff anybody who wants to try and knock him out. Antonio Gates had no prayer that time. When you talk to some of these coaches about Jarrett Johnson, they say when other coaches approach them before the game, one of the first names they bring up is Jarrett Johnson. They haven't seen a Sam backer set the edge, not allow guys outside any better in the league than what he does.
2nd and 15. What's coming again? Rivers going deep, and Jackson lays out for it, but can't haul it in. Vincent Jackson had gotten a step, but the pass a little beyond him.
Just can't miss this. You're going to get cover 0 back here. No free safety whatsoever. It's going to be a free shot. No pressure on Phillip Rivers. and that's one they have to hit. They want to go against Jimmy Smith, the young rookie. Brilliant route, missed the throw. Stick that one in your back pocket. If the Chargers don't come up with a win tonight, that was a huge opportunity, and Jackson knows it.
3rd and 15. And here's a little dump off to Tolbert. And Tolbert will take the ball to the 27-yard line. Takes a crack from Lewis. And the Chargers to set up for a field goal.
One of the reasons you don't cut back is you don't want to see this guy when you're a runner. Tolbert tries to cut back against the grain, and look what he runs into. Whoa. And remember, helmet to helmet is off when it's a runner in the open field, not a defenseless player. Welcome back, Ray Lewis.
45-yard attempt for Nick Novak. He had to take over the second week of the season. They lost their Pro Bowl kicker, Nate Kading, on the first play of the season on opening day on the kickoff. And the 45-yard attempt by Novak gives San Diego the lead. 7:44 to go in the opening half. Chargers by 3. So Jackson unable to haul in the pass off his fingertips. 10-7. San Diego settles for the field goal. And Novak to send it down towards Bukowski, who will have a run back from the 2-yard line. And up to the 25-yard line he goes. 7:38 left in the half. San Diego on top, 10-7 over the Ravens. John Harbaugh was under Andy Reid for years in Philadelphia. In fact, he even preceded him. Very big on the military. He's made a trip to Afghanistan with other coaches a couple of years ago, and the Ravens decided as an organization to send Christmas gifts to the troops. 800 boxes is our understanding to the troops in Afghanistan. And John, yesterday, since he brought the team out on Friday, actually had a lot of the Ravens go down and visit the Navy SEALs here in San Diego. Ricky Williams starts as the running back here, and Williams takes it up to the 30-yard line behind a Leach block.
Yeah, he was saying he's been on a couple of those USO trips, and the one moment he remembered more than any other was Jeff Fisher. There was one of the coaches that went along, finally found a way to escape and go fish, caught a 4-foot fish, and the thing bit him in the face. So this is, but for so many of the men and women in the armed forces here in San Diego, and always big Chargers fans.
All branches too. 2nd down and 5, and Flacco will sling it out to the outside, and Williams gets taken down in the open field by Eric Weddle. 3rd down and 4 after a pickup of 1.
You know, the old Harvard guy in the middle, the center, Matt Burke, still finds a way to get it going here against Antonio Garay, who we've seen have some great days in the past. We're talking to Cam Cameron. He feels like they have the best center in the division, and Marquise Pouncey and company, there's some pretty good ones in this division.
Now let's see. 3rd down and 5. This is where the Chargers have had trouble all season long. Had trouble on the last Baltimore drive. Touchdown was scored on the 3rd down play. It's 3rd and 5. In a 4-man rush. Flacco escapes again, but there's a flag thrown. And then finally he goes down. That's Cam Thomas, who for the moment will get the sack, pending the flag.
And get the benefit of the doubt.
Start number 78, offense. 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
Well, so that was whistle dead, and the crowd was so alive that nobody heard that McKinney had the false start.
You know, one of the things that Brian McKinney still has a tough time with is any kind of a speed rusher on the outside. The Ravens have basically eliminated 7-step drops because they feel like he struggles with that. Struggles with speed in the running game too.
3rd and 10. San Diego creeping up. Corner blitz coming. Pass to the outside is caught for a 1st down. Torrey Smith makes his first catch of the night. Rookie out of Maryland who broke in with a spectacular performance against St. Louis. His first 3 receptions this season were for touchdowns.
Yeah, bringing the blitz over here off the left-hand side. Nicely picked up that time by the back. And Torrey Smith, that's a tough catch on the outside. Going to the ground. You bobble that one at all, which he did a little bit, but I think made a clean catch.
Ray Rice now back in. 1st and 10 as the Ravens have another 3rd down conversion, that on a 3rd and 10. Baltimore's converted 4 of 5 on 3rd down. Now Flacco dancing around, throws, and Rice will get taken down in the open field by Takeo Spikes, and we check in with Michelle.
Well, Al, Chargers linebacker Travis LeBoy has gone to the locker room. He is questionable with a knee injury, so Antoine Barnes in. We'll let you know if anything changes, but right now, questionable with a knee, Al.
Barnes, a former Raven, played 3 years there.
Leading sacker on the team now. And really not that huge of an injury because Antoine Barnes and Travis LeBoy usually alternated anyway now that Sean Phillips was back.
2nd down and 11. And the Chargers come across the line. Who did what to whom?
Encroachment, number 71, defense, 5-yard penalty, remains 2nd down.
Garay first across. That'll make it 2nd down and 6.
Yeah, we would be willing to circle that, but I think everybody saw that offsides. That was not that big a deal. Chargers know they have a great opportunity tonight, though. Boy, not often when you're struggling through the course of a season do you catch a day like today when everybody in front of you loses. They know what this opportunity means tonight.
2nd and 6. Here's Rice. You mentioned at the top of the show as Rice sets up a 3rd down and about 3 that the only team in the history of the NFL to have a 6-game losing streak at any point in the season and get to the playoffs would be the 1970 Cincinnati Bengals. And what was amazing is that was in a 14-game season.
Okay, right out here is Sean Phillips, who's really beginning to make a difference for this team despite the fact he got double teamed, at least able to fall in there and force Ray Rice back inside.
3rd and 3. 3.5 left in the half. Fast-paced opening half. Flacco throws, and that's a little too high for Ray Rice. So the Chargers do come up with a stop, and this will be the first punt of the game.
Oh my goodness, what a blown opportunity. We saw the Chargers have one. This is a layup. This is Kobe Bryant missing a layup out here. We've got a pick action coming in here. Ray Rice by himself in the flat for a walk-in 1st down, and they can't get it completed.
Sam Cook will punt. Antoine Cason back. And he is going to let it go, and it will bound into the end zone. 3:11 remaining in the opening half with San Diego leading Baltimore 10-7. One of the solid and steady guys in the middle, Nick Hardwick, the center, and a big weekend for him because yesterday his wife presented him with Hudson Harold Hardwick, born last night just before 7 o'clock. The couple's first child. Congratulations to the Hardwicks. From the 20-yard line on 1st down. And through the middle goes Ryan Matthews for a gain of 1.
You talked about Nick Hardwick, and certainly congratulations to their family, but what a remarkable story. A guy that never played high school football. He was a wrestler throughout high school, wrestled at 171 pounds, walked on after his sophomore year in college, was hoping maybe to play on the punt team someday, and now is a Pro Bowler in the National Football League. That 171-pound wrestler is now up around 300 pounds.
And he's been so vital in a year when they lost Marcus McNeil early. They lost Chris Dillon, a couple of Pro Bowl guys along the left side of the line. 11 different starters on the offensive line. Rivers throwing and juggling, and out of bounds is Malcolm Floyd along the sideline right in front of the Raven coaching staff. Jimmy Smith covering 3rd and 8.
And for Jimmy Smith, he's seeing a lot of action tonight. Norv Turner really feeling like that this young corner was confident to the point, maybe a little overconfident. He said this guy hasn't experienced enough bad things in the National Football League yet that can kind of scare you. They thought they might be able to get deep on him.
1st round pick out of Colorado. He can hang with the big guys. He's 6'2" and 210 himself. 3rd and 8. Ravens come. Rivers gets it away. Rivers throws and it's caught along the sideline by Vincent Jackson. And Jackson gets pushed down from behind at the 20-yard line. Cary Williams able to chase him down and knock him down. A 58-yard gain.
Well, if you're going to go with the double move on the outside, you have to be able to pick up the blitz on the inside. Here they come. Nice job on the outside by Jared Gaither picking up the linebacker. Allows enough time for this double move to happen. There you go. There's the Chargers.
2-minute warning. First down now with 2 minutes to go. Rivers' throw is incomplete. Jackson, the intended receiver. Pollard covering. 2nd down.
On the long play, it was Jared Gaither, the tackle that they picked up from the Kansas City Chiefs. He played one play for the Chiefs, jumped off sides, they cut him, but he has made a huge difference here, that time getting Ray Lewis and giving Philip Rivers just enough time. Remarkable that he's been able to come over here and have the impact that he had, but they had nothing at left tackle. They didn't even know what they were going to do, and Gaither has just fit in beautiful.
They were thinking about moving the guard Tyrone Green over there, and he wasn't too thrilled about that. Neither was Rivers. 2nd down and 10 from the 20. And Rivers stepping away and then throwing, and it's caught at the 1-yard line by Malcolm Floyd. He stays in bounds. It'll be 1st down and goal at the 1.
Well, Norv Turner is really getting them with these motions. It's allowing Rivers to know exactly what's going on. In this one, when the motion comes out this way, you're going to see Brendan Ayanbadejo go with him, the linebacker. Rivers right now knows it's man coverage. He goes to his man coverage corner route and hits Malcolm Floyd down the field. This has really been a masterful game plan to date against a very good defense in Baltimore.
Tolbert is the running back behind Hester. He scored the first touchdown.
Ray Lewis again.
Chargers have 2 timeouts left, and they're not thinking about that right now. They're thinking about taking as much time off the clock too and getting into the end zone, obviously.
Watch Ray Lewis come across here. Stopped right in the hole, right in his tracks, and Tolbert is a huge man.
Clock down to 40 seconds. They want to leave nothing at all for the Ravens on the other side. Chargers 3 drives tonight, touchdown, field goal. This is the 3rd drive, and we'll see what the end result is. 2nd down and goal. A little toss back to the outside. Matthews, can he get in? And the Chargers signal touchdown. The officials will look at each other, and then they do signal that he's in. Right to the pylon he goes. It'll be reviewed upstairs. For the moment, it's a touchdown. 7-play drive. The big pass, of course, was the 58-yarder to Jackson.
And I just told you how hard it is to get outside Jared Johnson. It was, but the key block was Antonio Gates on the outside. What a matchup that is. Ed Reed flanks out there wide. So the Chargers take advantage of the size differential and allow Gates to block on Reed just enough to get it in there.
Touchdown confirmed. Novak for the extra point, and that's good. So that worked out perfectly for the Chargers as they took all but 19 seconds off the clock. And San Diego already with 2 big presents today. Denver losing, Oakland losing, and they're up by 10 against the Ravens. Well, that Raven defense 3rd in the league in yardage allowed, 3rd in points allowed, giving up 17. Only 19 seconds remain. Novak's kick, a yard in. Zibikowski, and they get planted at the 22-yard line. The Chargers 3 possessions and all fruitful tonight. with 2 touchdowns and a field goal, and San Diego will get the opening kickoff of the second half as well because they deferred after winning the opening coin toss.
You know, really the strength of the Ravens defense is that front 7 and their ability to stop you from running the football. So what Norv Turner's done tonight said basically, all right, we're going to do that a little bit, but we're going to open this thing up. We're going to go empty backfield. We're going to take our backs out wide and force them to adjust. And so far, the Chargers have been ahead in that game.
Well, the Ravens will try to get it deep enough to set up a potential field goal here. And they have to check it down to Rice underneath, and Rice is going to take it out to the 45. You've got 2 seconds left, and timeout is taken here. So time for one play, barring a defensive foul here. And you can see how the Chargers are going to line up defensively. Cover 12. And now you got San Diego taking a timeout.
You know, it's so significant, though, for the Baltimore Ravens. And we talked about it a little bit in the open. They're still battling with Pittsburgh, who plays San Francisco tomorrow night in this game. And there is a huge difference now between that 1 seed and the 5 seed.
Three-man rush, 8 back. Flacco spinning away, spinning around. And it will end with a sack at the 37-yard line. So the Chargers having everything breaking their way today and trying to take advantage of it. They'll get the second half kickoff. Chargers wrapping up their home schedule. 2 games to play at Detroit next Saturday, Christmas Eve. And then at Oakland. Ravens 18 straight road losses, trailing at the half. Second longest streak. That is not the company you want to keep when the Rams are there and you're second.
That's a Costa shot, I think, right there.
Well, not really. But it could be. And the kickoff will go out of bounds, but after it crossed the goal line. So a good break there because Cundiff is able to save 20 yards.
Go back and look at some of the things that the Chargers are doing offensively. Here, when the motion comes out, you see them just take the defensive back and move him out. But in this case now, they know it's a zone when they motion out and understand that Brendan Ayanbadejo is in man coverage on the outside. So that's when they like to go back inside to their man route out to the corner. Hit Malcolm Floyd on the big play, and so far this little motion game plan has been worked to perfection.
Start with Mike Tolbert in the backfield, and he stays in to block Suggs. And then it's caught on the outside, but incomplete. Incomplete. McMichael gets popped, and we check with Michelle.
Oh, Al, I spoke with John Harbaugh at halftime, and he said they've got to get pressure on Phillip Rivers. And he also said, and I quote, the officials have got to call holding once in a while, and if they don't, we're not going to be able to get anywhere. But Norv Turner said the key to protecting Rivers has been changing things up on the offensive line, using different personnel groupings, and he said we're just simply blocking better.
2 interesting perspectives, Michelle. One guy thinks there should be penalties being called. The other says we're blocking better. But it's that offensive line of San Diego, that battered and bruised and mixed and matched line, is doing a very good job tonight. Matthews up to the 23-yard line. It'll be 3rd down.
Well, they're being patient. They're trying to stay with this running game. But inevitably, it is going to be Phillip Rivers that has to win this thing. There just hasn't been anybody really this season able to consistently line up and bang it in there and pick up first downs running the football. So Phillip Rivers, who has been hot lately, 7 touchdowns, no interceptions in the last 3 games. And here's another big 3rd down against the best 3rd down defense there is.
All passing so far, 24 rushing yards and 170 passing yards for the Chargers. Here comes the blitz pass. He gets it away, caught up at the 39-yard line. As Malcolm Floyd got in front of Reed and Cary Williams, and they move the chains.
Well, one of the problems with bringing pressure the way that they are, and they're bringing everybody here, is you have to play single coverage on the back end. And so far, Phillip Rivers has been able to get it out before Ray Lewis can get there. And this one-on-one coverage with these big wide receivers. One of the things the Ravens had hoped to do was take their bigger, taller cornerbacks and match up against those guys. But so far, it's been Malcolm Floyd and Vincent Jackson winning the battle.
Floyd took a shot, has to come out for the moment. Vincent Brown, a rookie out of San Diego State, been a pretty good player this season. Here's Matthews trying to find some room and takes the ball across the 40-yard line. Gain of a couple, 2nd down and 8.
Well, here we go. Yeah, well, everybody understands what's at stake here.
Well, Gaither knows plenty of guys on the other side. Having been a Baltimore Raven, even though one of the guys he's pushing and shoving with wasn't there when he was there, Pollard. Second and 7 from just outside the 40-yard line. And Rivers throws, and that is juggled but held onto by Vincent Brown, the aforementioned rookie 3rd-round draft choice, who played his college football in this very stadium.
Really, it was a nice job by McMichael getting a little chip on the blitzer outside, and then Brown, who is a guy that had to pick up a little bit of the role this year, but you see McMichael getting just enough of Suggs, who has really not been much of a factor so far in this ball game. He is a guy that had 3 sack fumbles a week ago, was a game wrecker in that one, and really has not gotten going here tonight.
Number 46, here goes Matthews to the outside, escapes, picks up the 1st down, and is finally forced out of bounds by Ellerbe. That's 18 yards to the Baltimore 28.
Here's the battle going on right here. Randy McMichael setting down inside, and really that was supposed to be a gap filled by Bernard Pollard, but the wide receiver Malcolm Floyd that time came down and made the big crackback block, and Matthews able to bounce it outside.
Floyd doing that after he had to come out for a couple of plays after taking a shot on a reception. 11.5 to go in the quarter. Opening drive of the 2nd half. Matthews stopped just past the line of scrimmage by Redding.
You know, Corey Webster, who doesn't get a lot of credit. I mean, Corey Redding doesn't get a lot of credit inside. Occasionally is one of those guys, kind of like a Jarrett Johnson, is what really makes this defense go. These big defensive linemen inside, they protect Ray Lewis. They don't let offensive linemen get down on their linebackers, which is what allows Lewis and Jameel McClain and some of those guys to go sideline to sideline.
Redding goes off a little slowly. Tolbert is in the backfield with Rivers. That's Creighton coming to the inside. 2nd down and 10. And going to the end zone. It is caught for a touchdown by Malcolm Floyd. 28 yards. Stays inbounds, and the Chargers open the 2nd half with an 80-yard, 8-play touchdown drive.
Here it is against Jimmy Smith, number 22. They said he was a little jumpy for a rookie, a little overconfident. They were going to try and take advantage of it, and they do. Little motion down inside, so they switch, so they end up being able to run that one on Jimmy Smith. And for Malcolm Floyd, he is having a big night against the rookie.
Carl Jeffers waiting for the confirmation, so he's holding up the extra point. He gets it now. Touchdown is good. Novak for the extra point, and the San Diego Chargers have now scored on every drive tonight against the Raven defense. That makes it a 17-point game, and I'll tell you who's enjoying this right now, sitting at a hotel in San Francisco. The Pittsburgh Steelers, who play the 49ers tomorrow night. 24/7 San Diego. And Zibikowski downs it in the end zone. So the Ravens will have the ball for the first time in the 3rd quarter, down by 17 points in San Diego. 3 weeks ago, the fan base here going crazy. They want A.J. Smith, the general manager, fired. They want Norv Turner, the coach, fired. So here you are 3 weeks later. You beat Jacksonville. You beat Buffalo. You get Denver to lose. You get Oakland to lose. You're leading Baltimore by 17. It's a different game. The 20-yard line on first down. That's Torrey Smith making the catch. But that's not to say, Chris, that either or both guys keep their job. Unless, of course, they have a miracle run and go all the way to Indianapolis.
You know, it's just hard to watch San Diego play like this because you feel like this is the way they should have been playing all along. There were some significant factors, though, in this whole thing. So many injuries, that offensive line, 2 Pro Bowlers on the left side. So they're not without excuses.
Without a huddle go the Ravens to try to change the tempo of the game, and then that is caught for a first down by Ed Dickson. Meanwhile, the AFC playoff picture, just to refresh here. Right now, they're your division leaders. Pittsburgh and the Jets would hold the wild card spots at the moment. But the important thing is here that the #1 seed is still up for grabs. Baltimore controls that, but only if they win out, and they don't need any other help.
Well, and especially this year for Baltimore, they have not been good on the road. They have been beaten by some pretty average teams.
And Flacco's going to go down. And that is Tommy Harris, sparingly playing here, but the longtime Chicago Bear stalwart there a number of years ago, who comes in to get the sack.
Well, one of the reasons they can't get the ball to Ray Rice is Antoine Barnes is hitting him before he can get out. You know, we always talk about backs chipping on outside pass rushers. Now they're chipping on the backs. It's kind of the reverse of that. That is exactly what their plan was in San Diego tonight. They said anybody other than Ray Rice touching the ball, we're happy.
Second down and 18 from the 34. This time the pocket is clean. The pass to the outside, but results in only a very short gain. Dennis Pitta gets taken down by Dante Hughes, and it will be 3rd down and 14 for the Ravens.
You know, this is the uncomfortable time, obviously, for the Ravens. They think they're a much better passing team. They have Torrey Smith, a down-the-field threat. But now with this lead, the Chargers are able to play pretty soft back there in the secondary, and there's nothing but checkdowns to throw to.
Flacco pressured again, scrambling away, look out, and he's going to go down again. And once again, that's Antoine Barnes, the ex-Raven who leads this team in sacks, just recorded his 8th.
Barnes going to be the beneficiary of some really good coverage down the field. They tried to get the crossing route in there to Torrey Smith, a no-go. Anquan Bolden, who's been very quiet tonight, a no-go. Lee Evans covered. Here's Ed Dickson inside, taken away.
Automatic, first down.
Now, meanwhile, you got a late flag because of what went on after the play, a face mask. And so all of that for naught. It would have been 4th down and 21, and Norv saying, what? Why? Well, Barnes had his hand on it, let go.
And Flacco signaling to the official,
Right.
He had my face mask. I didn't see the flag. It didn't happen in the scrum afterwards, right?
Did not.
Wow, what a huge penalty that is.
From the 46. Gives the Ravens new life. Flacco to Rice. And Rice is going to have some room, and then he gets taken down from behind in San Diego territory by Donald Butler.
You know, it's really just amazing how this offense seems to jumpstart when they find a way to start drives and get the ball in Ray Rice's hands. Joe Flacco kind of gets upset whenever you're talking about, the games that we've lost is, we haven't gotten the ball to Ray Rice enough. He said, well, we got behind, we got to spread it out. You got to go no huddle. You got to hurry it up. But I think the point that should be made from the critics' standpoint is that's fine, but make sure Ray Rice still gets his touches.
2nd and inches. Williams in the backfield next to Flacco. Give it to him. And the Heisman Trophy winner from over a decade ago has a first down, 36-yard line.
I'll tell you, the one guy that's made an impression on me tonight is Marshall Yonda, the right guard. He is a guy that is not only big and strong and physical, but really has sort of a nasty edge to him, but also the ability to block too. Here he's going to come up and then get the second guy. Hit right there, up on the linebacker level. Those kinds of blocks are what allows some big plays to happen down the field.
Williams stays in. Send him out in the pattern. Pass deflected, and then it is incomplete because Jammer couldn't hold on. Quentin Jammer had it right there off the deflection and couldn't make the pick. Second down.
Well, and if you have a criticism of Quentin Jammer during the course of his career, it's just the inability to catch the ball in key situations. Not an easy catch by any means, but here's a guy coverage-wise, more often than not gets it done, but just has trouble getting his hands around the ball. He's such a great athlete, you would just expect him to catch all those.
You would think. 10th year in the league, first-round pick back in 02. Had a really good career, but that is the albatross. 2nd and 10. And Flacco has this one picked off at the 27-yard line. Takeo Spikes. Spikes across the 50. Inside the 30. Tackled at the 25. Jammer couldn't handle it, and Spike says, I'll take care of it.
I honestly don't know what Joe Flacco was watching on this play. Takeo Spikes doesn't do anything unusual at all, just drops back in the zone, crossing route, right to him. It's obvious Flacco never saw him for a second. And
after the interception and after the play was over, illegal demonstration on the intercepting team, 15-yard penalty, first down San Diego.
So instead of at the 25, they go back to the 40 because of nonsense.
And Takeo Spikes is bound and determined to finally make a playoff, isn't he?
This guy has played 200 games in the National Football League. No games, zero, nada, zilch in postseason.
And the San Diego Charger fans are starting to sound like the San Diego Charger fans. They've been waiting a long time this season to see this team play this way.
Spikes, Cincinnati and San Francisco. He goes to Philadelphia one year. What happens? They don't make the playoffs. 14 years in the league. Ball is at the 42-yard line. And the Chargers, who scored on every drive, begin with a 2-yard run by Matthews through the middle.
Well, one of the key parts of this game, I believe, is the fact that Ladarius Webb, one of the Ravens' best cornerbacks, is dressed for this one, but really has not played very much. And Jimmy Smith, the young rookie, who's a good player, is going to be a good player, but he has been the top target tonight. They have found ways to go after him consistently, and Webb just has not been a factor at all.
Rivers caught. Jackson to the 29, and another San Diego first down. And Rivers is 15 of 20. That's 75% for 238 against the Baltimore Ravens.
Well, it doesn't look like much, but Randy McMichael on the outside just gets a little piece of Suggs, which is allowing Jeremy Clary just enough time to keep him off his quarterback. And really, when Suggs doesn't get home for this Ravens defense, they have issues other than blitzing trying to get there. This has sort of been a mass attack against Terrell Suggs, and it has worked.
Who would have figured that from the 29? Matthews. You're sitting there game planning, and you're thinking, what, are we going to attack Suggs?
That's exactly what they did. Watch this. All night long, we have seen various ways to get after him, and really Randy McMichael has been one of the primary guys on the outside. They motion him to his side, sort of wherever he is. It's not always a devastating block. He gets in the way and then releases out into the pattern, which buys those tackles a little time, and that head slap right there took away the only sack the Ravens had tonight and was a big turning point.
4:20 to go in the quarter. On 2nd and 5, the pass is floated and caught on the outside by Malcolm Floyd. And again, they go to work on Jimmy Smith. So the plan is we're going to attack Suggs on one hand and go after Jimmy Smith on the other, and it's working to perfection.
Phillip Rivers with a great audible. He sees Ed Reed leaning this way. He gets one-on-one coverage against the rookie on the other side. No way he's not going there. You could almost hear he couldn't get the words out of his mouth fast enough, that audible. Ed Reed leans. No problem. Here you go, Jimmy Smith. Another one coming right at you.
1st and goal. Matthews, diving touchdown. Man, you got to laugh. Every year toward the end of the year, people will start to say, hey, what's the team you don't want to face in the playoffs? And sometimes it's a team that might not even get to the playoffs. But the way San Diego's playing tonight, they'd be one of the teams.
They sure are, and we've talked about it a little bit earlier, and that wasn't a devastating block by Randy McMichael, but let's give him credit. Here's a guy that has been in motion. He's taken on the toughest blocking assignments throughout the course of the night, and his ability to catch a pass occasionally forces those defenses to cover him 2 ways. He's made a difference in this one.
4 touchdowns and a field goal on 5 possessions against the vaunted Raven defense. All San Diego tonight in Southern California, started by the Spikes pick, 31-7. Here's Zivakowski. Knocked down at the 32-yard line. So a tick less than 4 minutes to play in the 3rd quarter, and the Chargers trying to make hay on a big day in the AFC West. Here's Rice on 1st down, taking the ball to the 26. Chargers doing something that hasn't been done since the Ravens came into the league as the Ravens in 1996. First team to score on the first 5 drives of any game, and that would be 254 total regular season games. 4 TDs and a field goal tonight. Ravens going no huddle here on 2nd down. Rice on the outside. And he can only get to the 27-yard line before he's taken down by the former Green Bay Packer, Niall Diggs.
You know, this is the first time all season this Ravens defense has given up over 30 points, 31 points down. We're still in the 3rd quarter. You wondered coming into this when you go, okay, the Chargers offense is hot. They scored 38 and 37 points, but what could they do against this Ravens defense? So far, it's been pretty impressive.
Well, the Raven defense had allowed 6 rushing touchdowns all season, and tonight they've allowed 3. And that is juggled and intercepted. It is confirmed intercepted at the 28-yard line. Shaun Phillips. Let's see if he caught it. Good, 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 good. And that'll stand. If this was the National Hockey League, it would be goal by Phillips and the assist to Barnes. Phillips had it. Barnes helped him secure it. And then Phillips winds up with the ball at the very end, so he gets the interception. Chargers have a 1st down to the 27-yard line. Up 31-7. And Matthews trips over his own man, tripped over Hester, and back we go to the pick.
One of those cases where your offensive line blocked too well. They're going to have a stunt coming here, but because they pick up Shaun Phillips coming from outside in, he's a veteran player, realizes he's not getting to the quarterback. Get your hands up. And now the juggling act starts. There's the assist, there's the interception, there's all the things you were talking about.
Where Flacco has been picked on the last 2 possessions. And the 2 turnovers of the game. 2nd and 10 now from the 27. And Rivers again going deep, and this time the route was broken off, and Phillip goes down, and Suggs makes his acquaintance.
Boy, that was some shot there by Terrell Suggs. Coming back inside, and he has a direct shot at Phillip Rivers. Watch this one. That's one you don't get up so fast. And that's really what the Ravens have been missing tonight. They haven't been able to get pressure on Rivers.
And he didn't get up so fast, and he kind of bent over as we were showing you the replay. Just taking an extra moment. 3rd down and 10 from the 27-yard line. And they'll keep it on the ground, and this is Tolbert. Stopped short of the 1st down. There was a lot of speculation around the country that Rivers was hurt earlier this year because he wasn't playing very well. Throwing a lot of interceptions, he just didn't look right. And Phillips said, absolutely untrue. I appreciate people trying to make excuses for me. It was never an issue, ever. Tough guy.
Yep, and Suggs told us, he said, hey, listen, we have respect for this guy. We appreciate his toughness in there.
And Nick Novak, second stint with the Chargers, had to take over when Kading tore his ACL on the opening play of opening day. Novak's kicked with a bunch of teams through the years. This is a 37-yarder, and it hits the upright and is no good. So what my old partner, John Madden, used to call a doink.
Well, you know, sometimes funny things jumpstart you. You catch a break, you turn it over, you don't give up any points. So Joe Flacco gets another shot. It doinked inside. It just didn't doink over.
A doink back. There's your doink.
How do you think John came up with all those perfect words?
Well, you know, you think about it. When you listen to that sound, if you had to spell that sound, it would be like D-O-I-N-K.
Doink.
Yeah, there you go.
That's pretty good. Wonder if John has a dictionary or anything. You know, he's got the boom and the wham and the doink. And then he's got the double thud. Wasn't that one?
He's got everything. He had everything but the big uglies. That was Keith Jackson. And he had the turducken. Timeout taken here by Baltimore. You can't underestimate the importance of what's going to happen in the AFC North, especially the Baltimore Ravens. They're in a position right now, they could be the #1 seed, but if they're not the #1 seed, they're going to wind up as the #5 seed in all likelihood.
And you just wonder how this might impact Ben Roethlisberger's decision tomorrow night, whether to play, not play.
To the outside on 1st down, and the ball comes loose for the moment. Torrey Smith is able to, with the Ravens' help of the offensive lineman Yanda, keep possession of it.
Well, we know that the Baltimore Ravens, Yanda said, I got a little TV time out of that. That's good. He deserves it. He's been playing well out here tonight. They just need a breakout play. They need something. They're down 24. That's conceivably 3 touchdowns and 3 two-point conversions, but they haven't been able to get it going.
And that pass is a little dangerous, but winds up in the arms of Torrey Smith. And that's a 1st down.
Yeah, I tell you, Joe Flacco's been close on a lot of them now. They can start taking some chances defensively. Almost got there on another one. But they really haven't taken a shot down the field because of this lead now. The Chargers sitting there with those 2 deep safeties down the field. And so the big play is just not there.
Final seconds of the quarter. A little dump off over the middle to Rice. They had to settle for that. That's all. It's going to take us to the end of the 3rd quarter in San Diego, where the Chargers lead the Ravens 31-7. And Sunday Night Football continues after these messages. And back we come into this stadium, which was opened in 1967. It's 2nd down and 6. And Flacco in amongst all of the Chargers, somehow keeps control of the ball, but nothing but those powder blue shirts in there. Barnes and Antoine Phillips, and it's another sack.
Well, there was plenty of time on the play. There's no question about it. And the pocket sort of just squeezed closed, a little like Eli Manning escaping on that Super Bowl throw, but that time another sack. And for Joe Flacco, you can tell he's getting frustrated with all these dump-offs. He wants to work the ball down the field, and he just can't. The Chargers are playing a mile back.
3rd and 14. The Chargers that time with no lineman with his hand down. 3-man rush. Here's Rice again underneath. And they give them all of those that they want. And who would have thought? I mean, it's 4 sacks tonight for the Chargers, plus one that was negated by a penalty, and none for the Ravens.
This has been some performance, and I think the interesting part about this thing is that this banged-up Chargers defense has played tremendous football tonight.
Sam Cook will send it down to Patrick Creighton, former Dallas Cowboy. And Creighton's going to let it go, and it will go out of bounds beautifully at the 1-yard line. Beautifully for the Ravens with 13:44 to play. San Diego in control. Well, this is a familiar refrain for Charger fans. Take a look at that. Since 07, when Norv took over here, 19-2 in December and January. Rivers 24-2, best since 1950 in December and January. And again this year, they dug such a hole for themselves. Normally they dig it early and then come out the rest of the way. This year they actually got off to a good start at 4-1 and then had the 6-game losing streak. Now they're on the verge of making it a 3-game winning streak and being right back in the race, and they're trying to find some breathing space here as Jacob Hester takes it up to the 3, and we've got a flag.
Yeah, nice job by Phillip Rivers going with the hard count off his own goal line. Really have nothing to lose if your guys jump back up a yard.
55 defense, 5-yard penalty, repeat first down.
And 1st and 5 from out at the 6 now.
Well, and Suggs is thinking what I was thinking. It's time for this defense to step up and make a play. There are superstars on this Ravens defense, and the superstars have done really nothing tonight. Ed Reed, Ray Lewis, Terrell Suggs, Hody Nada. You know, this is the time. They've got them backed up. If you're going to make a move, this is now. It's got to happen.
From the 6, and it's the face mask there. In fact, it was, and that's Lewis. You could see him grabbing Jacob Hester, bringing him to the ground with some metal.
It's really been the story of this game.
There's no foul for a face mask on the play. It'll be 2nd down.
To one official, it looked like one, but he got talked off of it.
Well, and you can put the hand and tackle the face mask if you don't grab it and twist it and turn it. There's a visor on that helmet, and you could almost see Ray Lewis's hands sliding across the visor. He couldn't have done a face mask if he wanted to. Couldn't get his hands in there.
53.
Turned out to be a good call. 2nd down and 1 from the 10. And Matthews. San Diego will start using a little bit of clock now. Well, this stadium has been around since 1967. It was Jack Murphy Stadium for a while, and then Qualcomm bought the naming rights. And then Qualcomm has a new product, believe it or not, called Snapdragon. So for the next couple of weeks, this stadium will actually be known, there it is, Snapdragon Stadium.
Snapdragon's 1 for 1 so far.
Well, last night I'm trying to think about Howard Cosell saying hello again everyone and welcome to Snapdragon Stadium in San Diego, California. The end of civilization as we know it. From the 15 on 1st down. Matthews picks up 3.
Man, that Bernard Pollard comes down. He makes some hits that make you just sort of cringe watching him coming out of center field. Gets down there so fast to make this hit. And when he hits you, you stay hit. He is one of those guys that just fits the mold. You know, there are some guys that just look like Ravens players when they walk on the field. And he is certainly one of them. Not the cover guy Ed Reed is, but he is a hitter. And
last year's #1 draft choice. to the 22-yard line, traded up to get Matthews. And you think about, the recent history here. Obviously, they had LT LaDainian Tomlinson, and then they had Michael Turner, and then they had to make a choice a few years ago. Do you want to bring LT back or whatever with Turner? Turner winds up going to Atlanta. LT then goes to New York, and they have to draft a new back, and that's 999 yards for Matthews this season.
But here's the difference. Unlike LT, Ryan Matthews comes out on third down. He's not the protection guy, and he's not the receiver that LT was, or Sproles.
And it's Tolbert who comes in. And Tolbert, who is a great backup back to the 45-yard line. 5 carries, 32 yards, and that one's 22 yards for Tolbert.
Well, one of the problems when you bring in your nickel and dime defense, you don't have as many guys. So here's Luis Vasquez coming around with a trap. And there goes Mike Tolbert. Basically, whatever Norv Turner has called tonight, it has been good. And Ray Lewis's first game back from injury has not been good.
Well, that's Norv's pedigree in a way. It's offense. He's always been extremely highly regarded as a play caller. And tonight he's called a near perfect game. Matthews. But Chris, that's the frustration among the Charger fans. They go, why can't this team look like this all of the time? How do you go into Kansas City and look like that? How do you blow a lead in New York to the Jets and look like that? How do you lose to Denver in overtime? How do you set up a 50-some-odd yard field goal instead of working the ball down the field against Denver? And that's why the fans are so frustrated.
Well, I understand that, and I also understand that when you lose 2 Pro Bowlers on the offensive line, and Marcus McNeil and Chris Dielman, without question, the group that has to be the most cohesive in the NFL is that offensive line. And when you start mixing and matching, inevitably offenses fall apart.
Tolbert on 2nd and 10. Lewis is there. Meanwhile, here's Gaither, former Raven, left there, had lost some weight, wasn't in shape, had a contract issue, winds up in Kansas City. Let's go back to a couple of weeks ago. We are in Kansas City, and Kansas City shouldn't have even been in this game, but all of a sudden they're giving the Steelers all they can handle. They bring Gaither in because of an injury to the starter. Ed Hockley says false start, and that got Gaither, in effect, the trip to San Diego.
Yeah, he was cut. And when you talk to Philip Rivers, he said this guy is the greatest waiver wire pickup ever. I mean, there's no question that plugging him in has made a huge difference on this offense.
3rd and 5. Rivers will set up the screen. Here's Tolbert. He'll spin away from Lewis and pick up the first down. Everything's working for the powder blue.
Well, I think that sort of says it all. That's been the night tonight. Superstar players on this Ravens defense not playing like superstars. Ray Lewis sort of has Tolbert dead to right. Tolbert's almost as big as Ray Lewis is. Spins out of it and picks up the first down, and here we go.
Tolbert weighs in at 243, and Lewis at 250. This drive began back at the 1-yard line. 8 minutes to go. Matthews, and that'll put him at 1,000 yards. Well, the Pittsburgh Steelers have a chance now to get into a position to move ahead of the Ravens, to knock the Ravens back to what would be, in effect, the number 5 seed. And if you're the 5 seed, you know what it means. You have to go on the road for a wild card game. You're definitely on the road for the next game, and the only chance you have to play a playoff game at home is if the 6th team advances to the conference championship game, which doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, and this team has not been good on the road. 3-3 with losses to the Titans, Jags, and Seahawks. I mean, that's sort of unexpected.
2nd and 9 to the outside. There goes Matthews, first down and more, and forced out of bounds by Williams. This is a tour de force for the San Diego offense tonight. That is 401 yards against the Ravens.
Well, you're going to end up with just a nice jump cut to the outside here. Ray Lewis is going to have a pretty clean shot at him again. But it's Matthews who now is starting to feel more and more comfortable. He had a fumble earlier in the year, and Norv Turner had a chance to sit down with him and say, listen, I was around Emmitt Smith for a long time. Everybody fumbles. This happens. Relax, let your natural ability take over, and really since that fumble, he has been a different back.
Had a fumble tonight, but fortunately for San Diego, it was recovered by them. That's a gain of 2. Matthews, 23 attempts for 84 yards. That race for the #1 seed now all of a sudden becomes even more interesting. The Patriots at 11-3. If the Ravens lose, they go to 10-4. If the Steelers win tomorrow night, they go to 11-3. The Texans are 10-4. So the Steelers with a win, since they beat the Patriots in Pittsburgh, would be, with 2 weeks to go in the season, the #1 seed. And there's your AFC West, where all of the teams are still alive. Crazy.
But the Steelers are limping into San Francisco tomorrow, as are a lot of teams at this point.
And the 49ers have the incentive of just trying to stay into that in the #2 slot, so they can get the bye the first week of the playoffs. And not the Saints.
So many times you see it is the healthiest team going into the playoffs that can make a run. I can remember Pittsburgh a couple of years ago as a 6th seed, right? Running through and going on to the Super Bowl. We have seen some low seeds, some wild card teams make late runs. Unfortunately, you got to get there. And for the Chargers, that is still a tall order.
How about the Green Bay Packers last year?
Green Bay Packers last year. Exactly. Didn't even win their division.
3rd and 8. And at the 10-yard line, chugs Mike Tolbert. So this is a drive that's consumed 8.5 minutes plus. Started at the 1.
But it's been like this all night. I mean, it has been long drive after long drive after long drive, and this very proud defense has really had it handed to them tonight, and it is unexpected.
Now Novak to attempt a 28-yard field goal. The only time the Chargers haven't scored on a drive tonight is when Novak planked one off the upright. And this one is good with 4.5 minutes to play. 34-7, San Diego. Shocker. Two yards into the end zone. This is David Reed who's going to run the kickback. Zivotowski had done all of the run backs tonight, and he finally gets dragged down at the 45-yard line by Steve Gregory. With 4:19 left till the celebration at Snapdragon.
It's 2.
The Ravens defense so stellar coming into action tonight, and you can see the story in the right-hand column, what the Chargers have done to them on a night when San Diego has scored on every possession except one. From the 45-yard line now. Playing out the string. Flacco floating one, and that's incomplete. Casey covering on the play intended for Lee Evans.
But Phillip Rivers and company have been dominant in almost every area of strength for the Baltimore Ravens. This Baltimore Ravens defense came in #1 in the NFL with 45 sacks. They had none tonight. They came in ranked #1 third down defense. San Diego goes 6 for 9 on third down. #2 in rush defense, and the Chargers end up with 136 yards rushing. They beat them at their strengths.
2nd and 10. Flacco's pass caught. Smith out of bounds. The Ravens will go home, and they'll get to Baltimore in the wee hours, and then it's a short week. Saturday is their game, their next game, Christmas Eve, against Cleveland. And then they'll finish at Cincinnati. Meanwhile, Pittsburgh has San Francisco tomorrow night, and then the Rams go to Pittsburgh. And they end up at Cleveland. So tomorrow night is gigantic for the Steelers.
Yeah, you've got to think if they win tomorrow night, they're going to win the division and knock the Ravens down to the 5 seed.
3rd and 5, and that is caught. And this is pitted at the 40-yard line. Meanwhile, the New England Patriots will be rooting very hard for the 49ers tomorrow night, because if San Francisco wins that game, then with 2 weeks to go, New England would be the #1 seed. And in the AFC West, it's so crazy. All 4 teams have a chance to win. The only team that controls its playoff fate is Denver. If they win both, they win the division. Here's Rice to the 39.
I really can't remember. I'm sure there has been. Can you remember a throw down the field tonight by the Ravens?
No.
Not a single one. And it's mostly because of the lead. And so they were able to sit back in coverage. But this is a team that really has prided itself on the ability to get the ball down the field. And the Chargers have simply taken it away from them tonight. It has been this over and over and over again.
And when you look at the numbers, they're reflective of that. Flacco is 21 of 32 for 182 yards.
Not a good night for Joe Flacco. Had a couple of balls, a couple of easy reads, threw interceptions to guys that were really standing right in front of him.
You know, you go back, there was one play down the field. It was his first completion of the night. That's how long ago we forgot about it. It was to Bolden for 33 yards. That was it. And here's Ed Dixon to the 27.
Well, Phillip Rivers knew he had to come up with a big night tonight, and he was going to be challenged by this defense, and he made it look easy. I mean, every once in a while, somebody will come along and just take it to the Ravens. It was shocking to watch it.
Picked up off the ground, and another San Diego sack. And that'll take us to the 2-minute warning. That's Garay, and that is Phillips, and that is 5 times tonight that he's hit the deck. And meanwhile, that's Phillips down on the ground. They stopped the clock at 2:07. Well, Phillips able to smile, took a shot in the helmet from his own guy. Antonio Garay was down for a moment, but works his way to the bench at 2nd down and 19 as they wind the clock. This will take us now to the 2-minute warning. And that is caught, and that's Smith, Torrey Smith, and he's going to go to the end zone with 1:55 to play. So they finally get it down the field, 36 yards for a touchdown. And after a nice run back by Reed, they go 55 yards on 8 plays.
Yeah, you want to say, where's this been? They clear the middle of the field with the receiver sprinting down the middle to move those deep safeties back and then hit the crossing route underneath. You can see they're right down the middle of the field, clear it out, work underneath there. You don't have to always just take the dump downs if you have the safeties that deep, but just a little late getting to it.
Billy Cundiff on to kick the extra point, which he does. And with 1:55 to go, San Diego on top of Baltimore by 20. As the onside kick is here, and it's with a flag down, covered by San Diego. Might have been an illegal touch early on as the ball was kicked down the field. And you get a little extra skirmishing going on. Chargers on Tuesday visited the Doris Miller Elementary School, surprising the students with bicycles purchased by the San Diego Chargers, team that's has been owned by the Spanos family since the mid-'80s. One Super Bowl appearance for them in Miami following the '94 season. Antonio Garay.
That's kind of how I felt about this game. What the heck?
Yeah, hey, why not?
Well, it has been that kind of a funky day today in the National Football League, hasn't it?
Ball was against the Ravens, obviously, on the kick. So Baltimore scoring a meaningless touchdown, meaningless except to some friendly degenerates that we know, to make it 34-14. And the timeout is taken by Baltimore.
But it was that kind of day with the Packers getting beat by the Chiefs and the Colts getting their first win against the Titans and really hurting the Titans' chances. The Texans, now you have to question what's going on with them. The Giants getting knocked off by the Redskins after looking so good against the Cowboys. The Eagles now appear back in some kind of a hunt. The Eagles are kind of like the San Diego Chargers. Boy, if they got in, you'd say maybe, maybe they're certainly talented enough.
How about a Kansas City Philadelphia Super Bowl?
So what?
I mean, it's still possible. Ryan Matthews. To think that the Kansas City Chiefs are still alive. Philadelphia's still alive. You and I are barely alive. I want to thank you for paying the toll on the toll road the other day, going down $5. Thank you.
My pleasure.
And Merry Christmas to all of you. And we'll talk to you next Sunday night from Green Bay.
Yeah, it's going to be fun getting up to Green Bay. It'll be interesting to see what the Packers now do. They're in a little bit of a world of hurt at the tight tackle position, having lost 3 guys now. And so all the talk of the undefeated season and the perfection, now you just wonder, first of all, they got to go clinch the #1 seed, which you would think that they could probably do against the Chicago Bears, but who knows? They certainly didn't look very good today.
No, and then they played Detroit in their last game of the season. Both of their games were at Lambeau Field. It was San Diego. This is the end of their home schedule. They go to Detroit. That's a big game next Saturday. And then San Diego ends at Oakland, what could be an enormous game the last night of the season. Who knows? Denver goes to Buffalo next week. Buffalo not playing well, obviously, but they're going on the road at Buffalo. Who knows? And Kansas City goes to Denver to end the season. And Baltimore, we talked about this. I mean, the rest of their schedule, not, prohibitive, obviously. Cleveland and Cincinnati, but Pittsburgh, right now, Pittsburgh controls not only its playoff fate, but where they're going to wind up in the seeding.
Yeah, and it's entirely possible that Cincinnati could be playing for that last playoff spot in that final game. And, then what do you do? Who knows where the Baltimore Ravens are going to be at that point. But the 2 wins against Pittsburgh we all thought was going to be the definitive moment of this season for the Baltimore Ravens. And yet with this loss today, now if Pittsburgh can win out, we're right back to where we have been over the past several years, with Pittsburgh as the division winner and Baltimore having to come out of the wild card.
Well, what's really nuts, too, is that Arizona and Seattle are still alive. Kansas City still alive. What? With 2 weeks to go.
Welcome to the NFL, huh?
Yeah. It's 4th and 2 after the Ravens spend their final timeout. And a hard count does not draw the flag, but you've got coming up short here, which is going to result in a change of possession. So they can't run the clock out, and Norv's saying, well, he's not really saying that, but I'm just trying to make up some stuff.
I think Norv is happier than he's been in a while.
Yes, he is.
And they're on a 3-game winning streak now. You're talking about, we did that sort of roller coaster ride at the beginning of the show, but after 6 losses, you come back, you win 3 in a row, and I don't know. The Chargers offensively seem to have pieced together an offensive line now, and who knows?
We got Tyrod Taylor, who is the backup to Flacco, kind of the wild card guy, and he'll take the snap here. He'll go down. Chris, what's really interesting too with the Ravens, when the season started, the Ravens had one gigantic goal, and that was to take care of Pittsburgh, and they did. They beat them on opening day. They beat them in Pittsburgh. So that was the thing they had to do. That was their hump. They get over the hump, and now all of a sudden here comes Pittsburgh again.
Yeah, and Pittsburgh, despite a lot of injuries, a lot of issues, and that's continuing now with Ben Roethlisberger. Marquise Pouncey apparently not playing in the game against San Francisco. And you were under the assumption, okay, Baltimore comes in here, takes care of business. Pittsburgh might lose in that game tomorrow night, and all of a sudden the Ravens are in a perfect position, and just the opposite happens. Sure, for John Harbaugh, this is a major disappointment as their road woes continue. And as you think about what the wild card path looks like, it is all on the road. And We have seen no evidence that the Ravens could make that kind of a run on the road this year.
Meanwhile, you've got 4 sacks tonight as the pass is taken on the outside. And that's going to be the end of the game. You got Antoine Barnes, who had 4 sacks tonight, including one just a moment ago. You could have gotten 100,000 to 1 odds that at the end of the night, San Diego would have 7 sacks and Baltimore would have none. 34-14, San Diego.